Why she was measuring herself against me all the time. Fancy anyone being jealous of a tiger. Yet it was not really so. Given her chance, I don't think she would have poisoned me. She enjoyed being argumentative, that is all. So the captain's wife and the captain had arguments. They were a peculiar couple devoted to each other, but not betraying their feelings in speech. When I mentioned this subject to my master later in life, and I sought his verdict as to whether they were to be considered friendly or inimical to each other, he just smiled and said, "Human ties cannot be defined in just black and white terms. There can be no such thing as unmitigated hatred or unmitigated love. Those who are deeply attached sometimes deliberately present a rough exterior to each other, and that is also one way of enjoying the married state. Some wives in this world show their deepest love only by nagging, and the husbands also enjoy putting on an air of being victims. You must not forget that everyone is acting a part all the time, knowingly or unknowingly. But God, who sees everything, must be aware of their thoughts and the secret ecstasies of companionship of even that captain and his wife. So don't make the mistake of thinking that they were not properly matched, judging merely from the conversation overheard. Do you know, at the end, though his death was sudden, with the last flicker of consciousness, he worried about his wife and how she was going to manage without him. Do you know what she did when she came over and saw him? She stood looking at the body without a word or a tear. And when the others tried to comfort her, she said, "Leave me alone." After that, she went back to the circus tent, climbed to the top where the swings were clamped, took out one, took a full swing up and down, and when the swing touched the ceiling, let go her hold. Jubilee seemed to have become a self-explanatory word. When Captain started the publicity for his special Jubilee show, no one questioned it, although his wife continued to taunt him. Announcements were made through colorful lithographed posters pasted on every wall in Malgudi. You could find the posters stuck side by side, starting from the Albert Mission College compound wall, the first available wall when you turned townward from the circus grounds, on which was originally to be seen bold stenciled warning, "Bill stickers will be prosecuted." Captain's men had come back to consult him about him, and Captain advised, "Go and stick your posters well over the warning so that the warning is covered, and that will make it lawful. If we are questioned, we shall send complimentary passes to the principal and the professors of the college." He had planned to put up a few more special ringside seats to take care of all possible objectors and obstructors, from the sanitary department to the jail superintendent, who could have created trouble for Captain at any stage. Though law-abiding in a great general sense, he had contempt for what he felt were silly objections. This was not the time for one to be finicky. He had to make use of the sprawling central jail walls, paint over them with his Jubilee messages in giant lettering, so that travelers journeying on the highway could not miss them. He had always felt that such walls were going to waste and should be utilized properly. He differed from those whom he considered a bunch of eccentrics, calling them Town Council Arts Council, who were opposed to every kind of announcements, hoarding, never realizing that they were cramping our economic life and ultimate prosperity. When his plans were opposed, he had his own technique of winning over opposition. A few complimentary tickets not always for VIP seats. He had a few seats for semi-VIPs and non-VIPs, accommodation in rattan chairs, wooden chairs and galleries, depending upon the status of those he wanted to favor. When mere tickets would not work, he donated cash from a fund he had earmarked as birthday gifts in his account books, and income tax rarely questioned whose birthday. He invaded every blank space in town to advertise the Jubilee, starting with Albert Mission College, as we have seen, to the end of Abu Lane, which splintered off from Eleman Street. The last outpost of Malgudi eastward, every kind of wall of shops, schools, houses and hotels proclaimed the Jubilee of the Grand Malgudi Circus, displaying Rita in death-defying trapeze acts, the chimp riding a motorcycle, the tusker carrying on his back the chimp dressed as a Maharaja with crown and all, a giraffe doing something or the other, and clowns tumbling. At every corner, people stood staring at the wall. Even those in a hurry to go to work paused to read the notice. Not a single soul was left in doubt about the coming Jubilee celebrations of the circus. In the same manner, the countryside was also informed by the usual team of clowns with extra noise of drums. As a result of this publicity, the box office presented an air of besiegement on the opening day. Every inch of the auditorium was occupied for all the three shows each day, noon, evening and night. Captain reserved the Tiger's act for the night show. It came after Rita's trapeze act, somersaults and dive through a fire ring. When the Tigers was wheeled in and the enclosure was erected around the ring, Captain, dressed in satin breeches and a glittering vest, holding the whip in hand, appeared before the audience in a kind of light skipping movement, bowed to the public deeply in all directions, and introduced, "Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to see our Raja perform an act which I have named 4 in 1, which is actually a symphony in movement, as you will notice when the band plays. I have composed it with a lot of forethought. It's a sequence of precise acts, timed perfectly, which sense of time is displayed uncannily by Raja. He will go through the act with precision and finish the sequence as befits a country dedicated to non-violence, with a sip of milk in the company of a goat. I would now appeal to you, ladies and gentlemen, to watch this act unwinkingly, keeping your eyes open and your nerves cool. Never fear for a moment that Raja will ever overstep the bounds in any manner." So with that introduction, which created a suspense and anticipation in the audience, he led me out of the cage, opening the door with his own hand. He carried nothing more than his whip. He had put away even the chair. He wished to demonstrate that he was absolutely confident of his authority over me and had nothing to fear. He cracked his whip in the air twice to start me off. I galloped around the ring, while he watched with a side glance at his stopwatch, keeping himself deftly at a distance, just a foot beyond my pouncing range, but always close to an emergency exit. The audience watched in absolute silence without stirring. I too caught the atmosphere and enjoyed showing off my talent. When the rounds were completed, the hurdle and mazes and labyrinths appeared at the appropriate places, and then rings of flames at some points, followed by the item of the goat and the milk. My mouth watered at the sight of the goat, but Captain was very careful to crack his whip and drive me back to the cage unobtrusively when he noticed it. No one had witnessed such a composite and complex act before. When the applause subsided, Captain came forward and said, "Sorry, gentlemen, no encore is practicable for this particular act, nor am I in a position to ask Raja to take the bow personally. I'll have to do it on his behalf. But I also hope someday I'll educate him in proper manners to respond to his adoring public." And more applause. The 4-in-1 act and the fiery drive of the trapeze artists were very popular and brought Captain great fame. His box office collections soared, and apart from that, his admirers showered him cash and presents of all kinds. He had done something original and really creative in the annals of circus, and no one could repeat or imitate his performance. The success was entirely due to Captain's genius, jubilee going on and on, each week bringing more and more crowds than ever. Captain looked particularly happy and ordered an extra ration for all the animals every day. He was careful not to overfeed any animal that had, like myself, difficult acts to perform. Keep Raja light and feed him well at the end of his act. Late at night, if he becomes heavy, he won't be fit to run through his acts so smartly. With the result that they hardly fed me until midnight, when all my duty was done. This compulsory fasting the whole day kept me always hungry and made it more and more difficult to accept the milk in the goat's company. We'll pause here. I hope you liked it. We'll continue tomorrow from this point. We are at page 73. Thank you. I hope you liked it. Bye. Inga Siddharth. Stop in it. Etra minutes?